Hello, everybody. We are here for the week 10 recording, but it's really a week 9 recording, I guess, episode with Code and Rick. We had some difficulty figuring out when we were all going to get here to talk, but we made it, and should be a fun episode for you guys. So, we are not going to do the normal routine of talking about the standings and the wins and the losses and all that type of stuff. We'll talk about that in hopefully a second episode this week that we're aiming to do with K Migs. Maybe Morgan as a backup. If not, I have an emergency contingency in my head that makes sense. But since we're not doing that, and I told Rick that we weren't doing that, um, awfully convenient. We're not talking about wins when Rick wins and losses when I lose. So, do you want to say your piece, Rick?
Nothing. It's just
Fuck them.
pretty surprising. I got a second win.
Who was it against? It was was it
Pandas.
was it the pandas? Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Kung Fu pandas. Yeah. So that means that last week you beat him, Code. This week
Yeah.
you beat him, Rick. And next week I beat him. Damn, that's crazy. They're about to drop 3 games in a row. So
Uh, yeah, I mean, Geno Smith with 2 points, like that hurts.
that's tough. Um, what did he say? There was only 28 quarterbacks playing this week, or there are 4 teams on
Yeah.
bye, and he was still quarterback 29.
Crazy
Um,
stat. Like, Tyler Huntley got more points than him, and he only played like the fourth quarter because they were sitting Lamar.
Yeah,
So,
that's
uh,
yeah, it's not a good look. So need to figure out that QB2 spot, I guess. But we'll see. So for this episode, all we're doing is a mock draft. So last year we did a way too early mock draft. This year we're doing a way too early mock draft. A lot of this stuff in last year's. Did you go back and watch it, Code? I feel like a lot of it was not accurate, but it was like
Yeah.
close enough. You know what I mean? Like the first couple picks we predicted correctly with. But I think we had like Sean Tucker in like the first or second round. So there were a couple things that we were way off on. But again, it's way too early. It's not happening for another 6 months. So
I
let's,
I do genuinely need to go back and watch that episode. Like, I know you probably have like an archive somewhere or
it's
something.
all still on the YouTube, and I still have it on the
Yeah.
computer and all that shit too. But yeah, it was interesting. So very similar format to what we did for last year, except we're only going to do the one round. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So this hasn't changed since last week, even with all the wins and losses and all that type of stuff. But this is if the season ended today, what we would expect to happen, or what would happen. But we kind of talked about this lineup and if we thought it made sense, if we didn't think it made sense, and we kind of unanimously agreed that there was one thing that we would change if we had to guess, and this was pre-trade with Stefan Diggs. We moved Rutro Raggy to the toilet bowl, and we moved the Webster Tigers up into the extra pick bracket. The other teams stayed where they were, so Seawards, Win Lake Flynn, and Liquidators stayed in the toilet bowl bracket. The inaugural stayed in the extra pick bracket, and the 6 teams on your left stayed up there. Thinking about it now, I really do wonder. This is an arms race still between the inaugurals and Dan Flashes. Are 30 points apart. As a friendly reminder, seeds 1, 2, and 3 come from the best team in their division. Seeds 4 and 5 come from everybody else, and seed 6 is the last remaining team with the most points, 4 out of the remaining 7. And those two are 30 points apart right now. So could change, but we didn't talk about it. So then we broke down, okay, if these matchups happen, who would they pick? Who would we play? Who would go where? And we kind of went matchup by matchup, and this is what we came up with for our final standings. We said Win Lake Flim to win the toilet bowl, the Liquidators in second, Raggy in third, Seawards in fourth. We said the inaugurals would win the extra pick bracket over the Webster Tigers. We said that Justin Stelly and the Buffalo Princesses would lose in the first round, and Justin Stelly would beat the Princesses in the fifth place game. We said Dan Flashes and Brownout would win in the first round, and then would make it to the next round. We said Dan Flashes would come in fourth, Brownout in third, Kung Fu Pandas in second, and the inaugurals. The implications, not the inaugurals, God forbid. Don't give him any credit, not again.
Not
And the
again.
implications would come in first place. I think with all the trades this week, I'm still pretty happy about this. But Rick, you were really the one to spearhead I think Justin's Deli loses in the first round, just based off playoff matchups. Briefly talk me through that thought process, because I didn't think that was going to happen, and then when you brought it up, I went and looked and was like, oh, they freaking might.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this was like 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But I went through each team's like matchups for that week,
Right.
and I was like, I mean, I could, he's got some matchups that week based on his current roster where I could see them maybe not performing at their best.
I remember thinking, not that you were crazy, but I remember being like, I don't know about that, man. And then I went and looked. So Herbert against the Raiders, Bijan against Carolina, Ken Walker against Philadelphia, so that's a dud. DJ Moore against Cleveland, that's a dud. CeeDee Lamb against Buffalo, Buffalo's defense is good. Pickens against the Colts, Mark Andrews against Jacksonville, CJ Stroud against Tennessee, Joe Mixon against Minnesota, and then we looked at Dan Flash's roster. Jordan Love against Tampa. I know it's Jordan Love, but it's also Tampa. Derrick Henry against Houston, JT against Pittsburgh, Kirk against Baltimore, which is scary, Amari Cooper against Chicago, Keenan Allen against Vegas. I see what you were saying. So we picked Dan Flashes to win that matchup, and we picked Brown out to beat the Pandas in the rematch of last year's first round too. But
you mean,
Princesses. Princesses, not Pandas. Yeah, excuse me. All the P's. So let's.
I can change back to the dogs, but I mean, princesses has worked. So.
This is what it looks like when we talk about the order of the first round picks. So I think, Rick, you were the one who said we're not doing a mock draft, we're doing the Liquidators mock draft. This is what it comes out to be. Flynn would have 101, which is his own pick. The Liquidators have 102, which is their own pick. The Liquidators also have 103, which is traded to them from Rutro Raggy. The Seawards have 104 with their own pick. Liquidators have 105 from the inaugurals. Webster Tigers have their own pick. Justin Zilli has their own pick. And then Raggy has pick number 7 there, which is traded just recently with the Stephon Diggs trade. The Seawards have the pick from Dan Flashes at 108. Brownout has their own at 1. Oh, wait. That's 109? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and then Brownout has 110. Win Like Flynn has 111, and the Liquidators have 112. So that's what it lines up as. It wasn't symmetrical if I threw 113 down there for you, Cam Hun. So we had that pick, but it's not showing up here. So this is what everything shapes out to be in the end, based off our predictions. And let's just go ahead and get it rolling. So with the first pick, who went first? I thought I went first, but then somebody else went first, and I just did what I was told at some point. I went second, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, Code, you went first?
I did. Yeah, you guys gave me the 101 because you disrespected me in the predictions.
Yeah, that's right. All right, go ahead. Take us through 101, Code.
101 with Flynn, I think it's got to be Caleb Williams. I know supposedly he hasn't looked that great in the recent weeks, but I mean, everyone has off weeks. And I mean, he's probably the best QB prospect coming out. And I mean, if he goes to Arizona, then why wouldn't Flynn want to grab him here to help solidify that QB room, especially with Daniel Jones out for the whole season? And who knows what next year looks like for the Giants unless they get some O-line help.
Yeah. Did you guys see there's like clips of him upset and crying on the sideline from him losing, and people are shitting on him for this? Do you guys agree with this guy's the leader of the team, and he should be held to a higher standard, or are you on the side of, man, you're playing an emotional game? Or have you not seen this at all? I saw you nod, Rick, so you go first. I don't know if you've seen it, Code. I saw it 20 minutes ago making this shit.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know, like if it's just like frustration, I guess I can understand, especially if like he knows he's leaving. Like if he knows like he's declaring, even though he hasn't declared, I can maybe get it. Like he's not gonna win. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, who cares, man? Like
yeah, I'm all with you. Like I know that's I don't ever see Peyton Manning crying in the locker room or Brady or anything like that. But dude, I fucking get it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think people are making a bigger deal than it is. And I guess in a post-game press conference, he said, "I just want to go home and cuddle my dog." It's like, I get it. like me too. So
I mean,
I don't know.
The media rails these guys on a consistent basis. I'm just kind of like, get off my back, dude. Like, So if I can understand it. I can see both sides.
Yeah, and you get it. Like he's a 21-year-old kid, 22-year-old kid. Like, I don't know. I get it. So anyway, so that's our 101 pick. Either way, to Flynn was Caleb Williams, and then it goes 102 to me, and I went with Drake May. I just felt like The Liquidators would have a really good young core here at quarterback. I think that if Brock Purdy was taken very high in an NFL draft, we would be respecting him a lot more than what he's doing. But because he was Mr. Irrelevant, we're all like, he's going to get replaced by Darnold. He's going to get replaced, or Trey Lance might take it. Like, just because he was taken in the 7th round. I know it's the Shanahan offense and all that, but I think with Brock Purdy and Drake May as 1 and 2, that'd be a really, really good start, especially with our format with the super flex and 6-point passing touchdowns. And so I felt like Drake May was the right pick here. I think if Caleb Williams didn't exist, people would be hyping Drake May a lot more. So that's kind of where my head was at. So Drake May at 102. And that moves us to 103. Rick, this was another easy one probably for you.
Yep. Marvin Harrison Jr., best player available, best wide receiver prospect in quite some time. So easy.
Yeah, a name pedigree too. Like, it's not just a great prospect; it's literally the son of Marvin Harrison. So
yeah,
I mean, Randy Moss's kid was in the league too, and he wasn't any good.
Yeah,
so it's not just the name; it's he's a bigger version of his dad. You know?
Yeah, and his dad was already freaking dominant. When you look at his roster too, Chase, his wide receivers right now. Is that Trey Palmer? Yeah, Trey Palmer, Michael Pittman, and Mingo. He's got a lot of young wide receivers. This kind of fits the bill, right? Yep. He's got Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims. He's got Mingo. So he likes his young wide receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Marvin Harrison here for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Harrison went 102. But out of curiosity, just for fun, and I know it's Dan, so we can only take what he says for granted so much. Dan has gone on record in more than one league saying he will trade everything he has for Marvin Harrison Jr. Would you consider that in this league, in our format, if someone is literally willing to say, "What do you want?" Would you do that?
Does Dan have his 2025 first?
Let's go take a look. I don't think so. He trades everything away. Oh, he does have his 2025 first. Okay, yeah. He has his 4th round this year and his 25 next year.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like a mock trade of like Christian Kirk in the 2025 5th for like Harrison and see what you guys thought about that.
2025 first, you mean, right? You said 2025 5th.
Yeah, first, but
I would not do that. I think with how much hype MHJ has, I don't think I would. But I wonder if he would do like a, throw. Like what else do you need?
Yeah, I might need to add more to that package. But I mean, Christian Kirk's got like a really nice contract for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but I wonder if it'd be like you have to also throw me JT and pay for half of it. Like if he's willing to write if he's willing to write a blank check like he's claiming, then. It could be interesting, and with how good Marvin Harrison Jr. has looked, should be interesting.
All right, he could easily end up in like the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Yep. Really quick, right away. Yeah.
So I think it depends on league and scoring settings, but that might be the cheapest you can get him.
Yeah, literally. That's an interesting conversation, right? Where does he go? I think. Obviously, Jefferson's ahead of everybody, then Chase right after that. I'd be curious as to where he goes. You and I were talking about that in another league, Rick, with quarterback tiering and all that type of stuff. I would think Marvin Harrison still comes after A.J. Brown. I think that's probably homerism, but, I mean, he's going nuts. But top 5, I could see type asset.
Yeah. I mean, landing spot does play a big part, too, because it's not saying that Jefferson, like, not trying to dog on Jefferson at all, but it's like if he was in a different scheme, maybe he wouldn't be utilized the way he is in Minnesota. He would still be amazing, but it's like Minnesota has all these passing concepts with the ball deep downfield because Kirk can throw it very well. It's like, well, what if you have some different scheme you're running, and those balls aren't super like vertical down the seams or whatever. I don't know. But,
would you rather have Tyreek Hill or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Goodness.
Yeah, I know. Stephon Diggs or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I'd probably.
Let's say you're a middle of the road team.
I just bought Diggs, but I'd probably rather have Harrison. Like, just to be straight up.
It's interesting. I think he's above Puka, CeeDee Lamb, above Keenan Allen, obviously. Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't know. It's interesting. It gets real fuzzy for me in like the 4 or 5 spot of where you want to put him.
I
But I'm
probably
also
take Amon Ra over Marvin.
yeah, I'm also a rookie hater. Like I'm like you got to show it first. So I'm a
Oh yeah,
skeptic.
no, and there's 100% like there's some serious merit to having that kind of thought process because yeah, you never know.
Yeah, should be interesting. We'll see. All right, let's move on to our next pick. So this is coming back around the horn to you, Code. Who'd you go with at 104? For Rick,
Yeah,
by the way.
104, I went Brock Bowers, and I know Rick didn't really care for the pick too much, but I mean, if he's gonna be like a top 10 pick in the draft, like he was projected in by Tankathon, then he could probably be a very good player. But yeah, I mean, tight end landscape is just kind of like unless this guy turns into Laporta, Rick's probably not gonna be too happy with. I mean, he'll be happy with the Laporta production, but yeah, with the pick this high, I definitely could see why he'd probably rather have a receiver here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I am curious, right? Because Kincaid's shown well, Laporta's shown well, but it's still like
Yeah.
there are still so many like good tight ends you can get by. I feel like the tight ends are the have or the have-nots. Like you either have Kelsey or Andrews or you don't. But
Right.
but Rick, I'd love to hear your perspective without spoiling too much of where your head's at. Right? I don't want you to say, "Oh, I'm
Exactly.
taking this guy at 104 if he's there to mess yourself up." But you, when Code said Brock Bowers, you immediately were like, "No." So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts was what 8th overall, I think. And
Mhm.
what's he doing for fantasy? Like for
Yeah.
tight ends, it's so like landing spot and scheme dependent. Like look at Hawk, right? He
Mhm.
was a first round pick. The Lions didn't really use him in the passing game. Then he
right.
goes to the Vikings and he goes
Ta-da.
on a tear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna say like there's no way I would take him here, but it's very, very unlikely, especially with like the receivers that are in this draft.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of receivers, we're about to go on a frickin' run. So let's go ahead and start that up at 105 here. 105 went with Michael Penix Jr. Again, following. Wait, quarterback? Is he a quarterback?
Yeah. Yeah.
What the
Quarterback.
fuck? What did I? Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, wait. We're about to go on the run in a minute. Hold on. I'm getting mixed up.
Receivers as 106. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
106
it's like
is where
we have receivers from like 106 to like on. So the reason I went with Penix, stop laughing at me, Rick. I'll kick you. The reason I went with Penix is to double down, right? Like double dip. So the Ravens drafted. They drafted two tight ends at the same year. They drafted Mark Andrews and somebody else who I can't remember. The Redskins drafted. Yeah, that's right, Hurst. The Ravens drafted Lamar. The Commanders drafted Kirk Cousins and RG3. That has shown to work. Like that has shown to work in the past. And there's another story that the Packers drafted 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. Like this is a thing. Quarterback is too important to not have that spot right. And that's where my thought process was to go with it. You've got a hell of a young quarterback group, 3 that you can easily rotate in, out, do whatever you need to with in a division that is not wide open, but we don't know which way the implications go this coming season. I still don't fucking know. We don't know which way the Diamond Dogs go. Rick, you've kind of said that you're not sure when you're going to be able to start to push, but you don't have the capital that Chase does. I wonder if Chase starts to push this year. I think that, not in a douchey way, but I showed what you can do with 4 first-round picks going from worst in the league to best in the league.
Right.
So I think that Chase could start to push to become the best in the league. He's got the money. He's got the draft room. I think this solidifies a position for him completely. He's got already the young wide receivers. I think this just says, cool, I'm set at quarterback. I'm set at wide receiver. I can play the running back carousel game and keep moving from there.
Yeah.
So
Washington, their football team, the collegiate one, yeah, like they're a good team.
yeah,
So they got a lot of good receivers, and Penix is doing his thing. So
yeah, should be interesting. All right, Rick, start us off on the run for real this time.
yeah, so we went with Keon Coleman for the Tigers. Obviously it's very early, but it's looking like there's like a tier of probably like 4 to 5 or even 6 guys that are probably going to be first round rookie picks. They might get first round NFL draft capital or early second maybe. So yeah, I mean, pick them at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just went with Coleman.
Take your guy and go for it. And the Tigers
Isn't
love their
isn't
guys.
isn't Coleman like 6'4" or like 6'7"? That one of those guys on FSU is like really freaking tall.
Let me see.
Like I don't know.
He's 6'4", I think.
Okay, yeah, I mean like DK Metcalf vibes, just like
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Let's see. 6'4", 215 pounds. Yeah, I mean, he's big, and he's getting better, right? Last
only a
year
sophomore, I
played
think,
well.
right? Was he a junior?
He's a junior, so he played
Okay.
in 2021, but it was I've got his stats up in front of me. I don't have the shit memorized,
Yeah.
but seven receptions or
Transfer.
50 yards. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Let me look.
Maybe if it's a transfer.
Yeah. So I mean, 800 yards last year. On track to beat the shit out of that this year. So his average has gone up. He's already caught more touchdowns than he did last year. So he's playing really, really well. And it's like you said, Rick. There's a tier of receivers here, and he's in that top tier. It's just this is one of the things that's going to be like, okay, we're going to need to see who goes where, because it might if the tier is so good, it might come down to what team that these guys end up going to. So
Yeah. FSU is another really good college football team. So yeah, it's like drafted guys from good college football teams. I mean, with the Eagles defense drafted all Georgia players.
yeah,
On deep, like we just keep restocking our defense with Georgia football players.
yeah, keep it going.
Seems to work out.
The Philadelphia Bulldogs is a fantasy football name in my work league. So
Nice.
all right, 107 code, another receiver here.
Yeah, this is Rome Odunze to Justin's Deli, and I think kind of going along with the Washington Huskies and Michael Penix. Like Penix is the best option, I think, in that receiver core. Don't watch a ton of college, but for everything I've seen from this guy, he just looks the part. So,
Yeah,
and kind of like Rick alluded to, it is just to pick him because I mean it's just receiver. And like last year's draft, I mean it was like what QJ, Addison, and Zay Flowers all back to back.
yeah.
So I think like we could probably see something similar in the NFL in this the late rounds or late round, I suppose.
Adinze also, by the way, over 1,100 yards last year, is at 11 yards away from 1,000 this year on less receptions, averaged 17.7 yards a catch. As many touchdowns as he did last year. They're 9-0. Like, what else do you want, right? Things are clicking for them, and Justin's Deli doesn't necessarily. It isn't like oh my god, we need receivers here. But I think when you look at his room, his running backs are set. Bijan and Ken Walker. His receivers, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, but he already has Mark Andrews, has Stroud at quarterback, has Fields and Herbert at quarterback. It's just add to that wide receiver room, right? Like why would you not? I think it's a good pick.
I mean, I could argue for in his case to get a running back, but he doesn't have to necessarily do it with this pick.
Yeah,
Like he's rocking Bijan, KW,
and
like
Joe Mixon.
And it's like at some point, I think he has him under contract, but he may want to think about adding somebody else just for depth purposes because you have 3 running backs on your roster. That's you're treading water.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder who's a free agent in this coming year as well.
I mean, if you want to talk about drafting for need as well, no one knows if Fields is going to be the QB in Chicago next year, right?
Yeah, no, that's very
That's a good
ambiguous.
point, yeah.
And that's why I think the Stroud pick was a good one. Free agent running backs this coming year for us that are worth talking about. Derrick Henry, Alexander Madison. I don't know if J.K. Dobbins is worth talking about. Chuba Hubbard, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, A.J. Dillon, Jerick McKinnon, David Montgomery, Rashad White, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson, Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette, probably not worth talking about, but Kareem Hunt, Ezekiel Elliott, Kenneth Gainwell, Aaron Jones. Who the fuck is that? Damian Harris. So there's a lot of different people that are definitely going to be free agents at the end of this year as well. So I was probably could say the same for wide receiver, I'm sure, but lots of options there. I just think that there's a bit of a tier break for sure for the running backs. But all right, 108. I kind of cheated. I picked 3 quarterbacks in a row. maybe it's because I'm a quarterback slut, but I also think that Raggy has been trying to replace what he lost in that Mahomes deal for some time now, and I think that his next pick has got to be Bo Nix here. Started 5 years now at Oregon, looks good, is playing well, and when you look at Raggy's roster, it's Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kenny Pickett, Brian Hoyer. It's just a mess. And so I think that he's very far off from competing. And I think that Bo Nix taking a quarterback to try to stabilize a position would be a start for him. And so that was kind of the thought process behind 108 here. So,
I like it. I mean, Bo Nix for Oregon, he's been playing college football for like 6 years now. So he's definitely got experience.
Yeah.
Team that potentially drafts him is going to get like a 25-year-old rookie, and that's sometimes frowned upon. But I mean, the Lions did it with Hooker, and Hooker could be the replacement for Goff. So
yeah, let's see, is he 25?
Probably not. Yeah, I agree with Rick, but it's like you never know.
Yeah. Well, there's also what's his face from?
Yeah, he's
Georgia?
23. He'll be 24. Yeah, Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. Yeah. K-Mig's favorite.
K-Mig's his first round pick last year. So yeah, I like the idea of it. Again, he's been playing for a long time. He has the experience. It's not like he's been playing at some no-name school. Like Oregon's a good school. His yards are good. Like he's consistent. I don't think he's the next Mahomes or anything, but I think that he will be like a solid QB2, hopefully. And Raggy kind of needs to have some consistency there, which is where the thought process came from. So that's 108. And then Rick, 109, we got who?
109, I went with Malik Neighbors.
So
same thing, it's just next receiver
Pick
in
'em.
the tier.
yeah. And TCU, right? I mean, TCU is solid. Oh my God, dude, I'm a fucking mess. I'm so bad at college football. LSU. Yeah, I know there's purple in TCU. Yeah, so he's been great as well. He had over 1,000 yards last season in 72 catches. This season he's got 66 catches, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. So he's more than doubled his career touchdowns this year alone. He is just playing very, very well. LSU obviously a good team, even though they've lost a couple games this year. But it's grab and go and pick who you want here. And so Neighbors comes in at 109. Let me pull my cheat sheet back up. All right, code 110. Uh-oh. Would you be willing to trade pieces for draft capital? Oh, no. Fuck that guy. Sorry. It's not our league. No,
right,
it's a different league.
Okay, so yeah, Brown out 110. I went with Emeka Ibuka because he was a.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I think it's just get receiver talent. You know what I mean? Like I think there are some good running backs in this class, but like they're probably not going to get picked very high due to the nature of the NFL. So it's like you're not going to spend your 110 on like a 4th round running back, even if it's a great landing spot. So just get good receiver talent. I mean, he did it last year at Ohio State with JSN and Marvin Harrison, and now it's just him and Harrison. And I haven't really caught up with Ohio State much, but he's still a good receiver. So
yeah, Ohio State 9-0. He had 1,100 yards last year. I don't know if he was hurt this year or not. His yards this year
he might be. Yeah,
don't look as good by any means, but if there's an injury or something like that, and also if you can produce last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. is just taken over pretty much college football, let alone that receiver room. So, but again, 1,100 yards last year. That was with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I mean Ohio State's been pumping out receivers too. We're like the last 5 that have come out. It's there's like 3 in the NFL. I mean JSN. Who is it? I'm googling it.
Garrett Wilson.
Thank you.
Garrett Wilson,
Yeah, and they both said JSN was the better one. Marvin Harrison's there. This is just another one kind of in that same grouping, really, of people that are just potentially coming out and looking really good. All right, moving on to 110.
111.
111. Oh my God, I don't know my college football teams or my numbers. I went with Raheem Sanders, the running back from Arkansas. So, no running backs picked up to this point in the draft, and so I figured Raheem Sanders is good. We kind of did this before the David Montgomery trade happened, but David Montgomery's on an expiring deal. Flynn's already negative money next year, so we might see that happen here. His receivers are great with Marquise Brown, Brandon Ayuk. He still has JSN, Jerry Jeudy. Miles Sanders has been a disappointment. Jeff Wilson hasn't done anything. So I think that it makes sense to kind of go running back here. I know that when we were talking about this, Rick was kind of making fun of us, or me, saying, well, I don't like drafting for need. But I'm definitely going to draft for need here. Sorry. And I think that Raheem Sanders, having your pick of the running backs, taking a big bruising back who's been playing for a long time at Arkansas, I think just makes a lot of sense here. And so that's kind of why I went that direction. I think that he could kind of come in, hopefully be that, dominant back if he goes to the right team that kind of sets the pace, like a Derrick Henry-esque, set the tone through the ground game. 1,500 yards last year rushing. Pretty impressive. So he's been hurt this year, but I think that when you look at that for last year, that could be huge. He goes to the right team, the right situation. I think he could easily be the type of dude who just goes off. So
I'll add something because I kind of want to piggyback off the last statement about how like teams might not draft running backs. They might actually, if the second round might be full of running backs. Who knows? Like I know that teams probably won't want to spend a second round pick on a running back, but at the end of the day, it's like there might be a lot of needs at the position coming into the draft season. You never really know.
Yeah.
And also too, like with these picks, like you're not investing in the guy just for next season. Like you got him under contract for like 4 or 5 years if he's a first round pick, like that. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You're not. Maybe year 3 he becomes an RB1 like consistently. You never know.
Yeah, it takes some time to develop, for sure. And Flynn's in that type of situation too, where he's got a quietly good roster that's built well for success, as opposed to the louder rosters that are built for 1 year. I think he's in the same conversation as the Kongsu Pandas and Brownout that have a good roster for some time, versus kind of the 1 year wonder like I am built as right now. So moving on to 112, Rick, your last pick to the Liquidators yet again.
Yep. Sticking with QBs for them, I guess, right? For value, it's super flex. I don't know if it'll be yours necessarily. It could be McCarthy or Sanders or there are a bunch of QBs that might end up with first round capital, early second. So I guess take your pick of whichever QB that might be.
Okay.
Also could have been, sticking with that receiver tier, Xavier Legette or Legette or however you say his name from South Carolina is getting a lot of buzz lately, so he could end up moving up boards a bit. So, but
you said Sanders is that Deion Sanders' kid? Is he supposed to declare this year or anything?
He might.
Jeez.
No one knows though. So
it's possible. Yeah.
What a I don't know about that team. All the hype around it is just Deion, and then I don't know if you guys saw that press conference with the O-line. Yeah. He's like, go get a new O-line or some shit.
I think they had a good start to their season, and then I haven't caught up with Colorado's football team. I literally live in the state, but haven't caught up with their football team.
Their O-line wasn't playing well, and then they were like asking Deion about it in a post-game press conference, and he's like, you just go get a new O-line. That's how it is. It's like there's still 4 more games to play in the season and shit like that. It's like, I don't know. It's just Deion's a promoter. He's not a head coach. So like they signed him to like make money, and I get it. And he put him on the map. I'm all for it, but
I mean, I didn't see that, but it's like, man, you shit talk your O-line. Like, dude, that's the last thing you want to do.
Who still have more games to go.
Right,
it's gonna be like that scene from fucking Remember the Titans where the dude just lets him by and just nails his son. I don't know. I don't think you get to disrespect it. And then who wants to transfer into that? I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. So, all right, our last pick of the first round, Code. This goes to the inaugurals. Who'd you take at 113?
I took Xavier Worthy, literally cuz Texas, and we'll leave it at that.
That's literally what you said. Xavier because Texas.
Yes.
A Texas player for a wannabe Texan.
So yeah, back-to-back Texas Longhorn players as well. So for the inaugurals, what does the inaugurals wide receiver room look like long term? I can't even remember. I know he loves his receivers, so it wouldn't surprise me to see another receiver go here.
I'd love his receiver room too, dude. Look at it.
It's so interesting. It's one of the many great things about fantasy football is you can do what you want with your team and do shit how you feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And you can shake your head at people and be like, what the fuck are you thinking? But I mean, the dude won last year, right? Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins now as well. That's not enough. I've seen, and he had Devonta Smith. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go wide receiver here. Just how much he loves wide receivers. He and I were talking philosophies the other day or at some point, and he was just like, well, it seems like the meta is to just get a shit ton of wide receivers and go from there. And I'm like, oh, my meta is get the 2 quarterbacks and figure it out from there. So it's kind of interesting how it works. So, but that is our draft. That was fun. I feel like a couple of the people were just like, I don't know who this is, but I know he catches the ball well. The website said so. Yeah.
It's literally November. Beauty still a ton of time.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact it doesn't take into account what trades happened, right? So last year, the first round, not a single pick was held on to by a team. It was traded at least once at some point. So that makes it interesting. We still have the trade deadline coming up, which we'll start to plug now. So on November 30th, we are doing our trade deadline live stream. We'll probably figure out who's going to be on that with us as well. But we're going to be, I don't know if we ever said what time we're going to start that. At 9 o'clock Eastern. 9 o'clock Eastern, November 30th. It's a Thursday. Oh, damn. Does that suck for you, Code 98? No, I mean, whatever.
We'll figure it out. I mean, I might not. I might just be in and out. We'll see.
So trade deadline again happens at midnight on the 30th. So at 12:01 Eastern time on the December 1st. There's no more trading for the rest of the season. Last year at the trade deadline, there were about 9 of us or 10 of us or 8 of us in the Discord chatting until literally minutes before that deadline happened. Every single team made at least one trade at the trade deadline. Expecting more of the same. So we'll kind of review. We'll do year in review of worst trades each team has made. Looking back, worst trades that were made, who should be on the trade block, all that good stuff. There's something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is anymore. There was something specific
I
to...
want to touch on the trade deadline. I think in the Sleeper League, it's set to no trade deadline.
Correct. So the reason it's set that way, it's just going to turn it on. The reason it's set that way is because there's no way to do it at 12:01 every year. So it says no trade deadline, but I'm basically going to go click the thing at 12:01. Now, if this ends up being a Discord call again and there's 2 or 3 teams still talking and it's 12:01, I'm not going to be like, it's it's I don't plan on cutting it at 12:01.
No.
But
You have to lock it.
you are such a...
Remember a few years ago when
no.
There was a trade in the NFL that didn't go through because they didn't get something faxed in time?
Was that really what it was? You were. I love how much of a
I believe it,
committed
man.
rule follower you are. By the way, we'll see. It's a very firm cutoff. We'll say at 12:01. But if someone's like, okay, well, can you add a 4th, and the clock ticks at 12:01, I'm gonna be like, all right, fucking get it through. So, much to Rick's disappointment.
They should have started earlier. I don't know if
So start your trade discussions now. This way it happens. Hoping to do week 10 with K Miggs. I shot him a message. I haven't heard back yet. We were hoping to do it with him this week. The theme for the episode was holdouts. Thanks to Unicorn for that idea. Who would be a holdout? Would you resign? Would you not resign? We'll also do the normal run through of points scored, all that good stuff too.
Who's Kim G's?
Oh my god, dude. In my defense, you guys are the worst. I said I'll do whenever, just let me know. And then I was like, Rick was like 11 to 2 tomorrow, and Code's like, no. So then I didn't do anything, and then I wake up to a text message. Could you guys do 9 a.m.? I was like, I thought we weren't doing it today. So the last 2 hours has been frantically throwing fantasy football stuff together. But I'll tell you what, K Miggs is probably cooler than the other guy. K Miggs, there we go. Thanks for calling me out for that, Rick. I fixed it. And thanks for joining us as well. Final thoughts. Shout out the what's your team? The C words for that win. Proud of you. Proud of you, son.
Thanks.
Proud of your dad.
I just feel sad for the Kung Fu Pandas. Losing to my team, that's got to be demoralizing. So.
Who else did you beat this year? Was it Chase
Coach.
very early on? Was it Code?
You beat me, yeah.
Week 1. Week 1 when the dream was still alive. Knowing where you're at now, Rick, would you? Because we talked in our interview, kind of coming into the season, you were like, "I'm not full on tanking or anything." Are you happy
Oh,
with
it's
how your
fine.
team's done? Oh, okay.
It's fine.
You're like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gamesmanship.
So things have been going to plan for you pretty much for the most part.
I mean, I,
I
I
mean, you'd like,
guess like I'm happy
yeah,
to have
yeah,
some extra firsts. You know,
Yeah.
that was nice, but happy to unload that Swift contract finally.
yeah.
But
Still high on Swift too. Philosophical question, just for fun: are you guys buying or selling at the trade deadline?
we'll see.
Yeah.
Damn it, Rick!
Yeah,
I
I
knew you
think
were gonna say that.
that's it.
Oh,
No,
you guys are no
he
fun.
he
I
took
would
the words right out of my mouth.
honestly, I would do either. It
Yeah,
really depends. You know, it depends on the
Yeah.
deal. So
it should be
I will
interesting.
say though, like I'm potentially willing to part with some guys for cheap. You know, like I know my dead cap situation with a bunch of guys that are on expensive ass contracts. So
Yeah, should be
willing
interesting.
to do some stuff around that.
All right, I'll change the question. Do you think there are going to be more buyers at the trade deadline or more sellers at the trade deadline? I'll go first. I think people are going to be buying at the trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, I think that some teams might need to. Some teams the toilet bowl because it's like we talked about in the chat. Like that 104 to 101 difference is massive.
Yeah, 104 is there's especially this year. There's I mean, 101, 102, 103 are obvious. After that, we were just like, fuck. Okay,
Yeah, I know.
Sanders. Like,
Right, just pick somebody. Yeah. Seriously.
so it'll be interesting to see who buys in the toilet bowl.
So I mean, I will say just to that point, like you can't have buyers without sellers. So
Yeah, yeah. So who sells? I don't know. We'll figure it out, I guess. We're gonna talk about it every single week to make sure that we're there. We'll stream it on Twitch, and then we'll probably do a Discord call afterward. If you're interested in being on with us for a period of time in that, let me know. We'll have 3 different segments. One will be again the worst trades looking back. One will be should this person be on the trade block or not, and then should this team be buying or should this team be selling? Will be our 3 different segments. And kind of why. And so we'll have somebody else for each one of them, and then we'll just kind of end the stream, and then I'll just jump in a call and frantically yell at each other and try to make a deal happen and go from there. So, final thoughts? Anything else we got? I think we checked all the boxes, but anything else you guys want to talk about or say?
Go Birds.
when the hell is Mr.
Fuck the
Conte
Cowboys.
coming on this?
Mr. So he's supposed to be with us next week. So we'll see. But he's interesting. Everybody else, I'm like, hey, do you want to be on the show this week? We'd love to have you, this or that. And when I asked Morgan, I was like, when do you want to be on? I asked him like early October, I think it was. I'm gonna read this just because it was funny and I don't want to misquote him by any means. I gotta find him though. How long ago did he and I talk in DMs? Morgan. I can't. Has it been that long? There's no way it's been that long. Oh, here it is. Okay, 9 days ago we were talking. Hold on, let me find it. This is our wheeling and dealing when he was complaining, and then I made a deal with him, and then all of a sudden he's my friend. Man, if I can't find it quickly enough, no, that's 6 months ago. There's no way. If I can't find it quickly enough, I'll just kind of add live the story. Monday trading thirst. He called me thirsty because I sent him trades. Okay, here it is. 3 weeks ago. Good luck. Should be fun between us. Football's done. Willing to be on the show in a few weeks. Want to be on the one of Thanksgiving or the week before that. So back in October, like mid-October, he's like, pencil me in for the week of the 17th, like of November. So everybody else, I'm like, you want to do this thing? And they're like, tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, tomorrow. And he's just like, 4 weeks from now, I'll have my people call your people. We'll set it up.
Yeah.
So I think I'm excited to talk to him, though. It's kind of fun that he'll be the last one that we talk to after the shit that he's been slinging every single week. I don't know who hurt him, but it is unwelcome. I'm glad I'm only going to have to play him once because he's not going to make the playoffs. All right, that does it for us. Code, any final thoughts? What did we do that already?
Birds.
Go Birds. Yeah, we did that.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Go Birds. Fuck the Cowboys. Sorry. And
I could agree with that one.
yeah.
Agree with that one, yeah.
All right. You guys have a good one. We'll see you hopefully this week with K Megs, if not sometime soon. Have a good one.